Good morning, Bucknutters, and welcome to the Morning Five on Monday, July 21st, 2014. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Bill, Van Jefferson, in one of your stories, says he's, quote, burned out of doing interviews. What kind of chance do you give Ohio State here at Jefferson?
Well, I really still tend to like Ohio State's chances. I do think it's going to come down to Ohio State or Tennessee. Although I still can't rule out Georgia. There is a possible one more visit to Georgia. That's not definite by any stretch right now. As of right now, there are no other confirmed visits for Van, so that would mean that Ohio State would have gotten the last shot with his recent visit, which certainly would bode well for Ohio State. Doesn't mean, though, that he can't decide to visit Tennessee one more time or Georgia one more time. It's just that right now his mom has told me there's no other confirmed visits. Van himself is not saying a lot right now. He's, as you mentioned, his mom told me, he's really just kind of burnt out on interviews and wants to try to think about things and make his decision. That decision could come as soon as Saturday. Saturday is his birthday, July 26th. It's not certain. It's just a possibility he could announce on his birthday. He's thought about doing that. He's mentioned at one time he wants to do that, and we'll see if it happens. But as you mentioned, the feeling right now, the thought, the plan is that he will decide before the start of his senior football season at the latest.
It sounds like Torrance Gibson is going to be at Friday Night Lights this week. The roller coaster recruitment of Gibson continues. What are you hearing? What's the latest with Torrance Gibson?
Well, again, he's a kid that Ohio State has been in touch with, in contact with, recruiting for a long time. There were a lot of thinking out there that Ohio State was no longer recruiting him. That simply wasn't true. They never lost contact with him. And Art Pantoni, the director of player personnel, has continued to keep the dialogue open between the two, and Torrance has continued to keep Ohio State on his radar screen. And as of right now, it's the plan to come up here to Ohio State, to Columbus this weekend. We'll see if it actually happens. Torrance has said more than once that he would likely get up here to Columbus, and it hasn't happened. Well, my gut feeling is that it probably will happen this time, and certainly if it does, it'll be interesting to watch how that all plays out. I've said all along that if there's going to be a second quarterback in this Ohio State recruiting class, that the only guy it's going to be is Torrance Gibson, and that's still the case. Will he be in the class? We'll wait and see. But the first big step would be actually getting him up here this weekend.
Drew Richmond says he will definitely be at Friday Night Lights this week. What kind of chance do you give the Buckeyes here with Drew Richmond?
I still think they have a chance, and I always have. I've spoken with Drew many, many times in the past year, and always Ohio State has been high on his list. He is going to be up here for Friday Night Lights. He told me all along he would make the trip. There had been some rumors that he wasn't going to actually come up to Ohio State this Friday Night Lights, but he continues to say, to me at least, that he is going to make it, and I really believe he will make it, and there's not much doubt in my mind he'll make it. He's been to Ohio State before. He really likes the program. He really likes what he's seen, and I give Ohio State very much a chance. Now, I'm not going to go out and crystal ball him, for instance, right now at Ohio State. I'm not that convinced, but I am convinced enough to feel that Ohio State has a very realistic chance of landing Drew Richmond, and he is going to announce his decision in September, and Ohio State's getting another shot this weekend when he's up here for Friday Night Lights.
And, Bill, the last young man I want to ask you about is running back Damian Harris. You're not going to like this phrase that I'm going to use, but for a while I thought Harris was a near lock to the Buckeyes. I don't feel that way anymore. I still think he's going to be a Buckeye, but he seems to be torn between Ohio State and Kentucky. I read a post he made on Twitter recently where, you didn't have to read between the lines too hard to figure out that he was saying he was kind of torn between Ohio State and Kentucky. What's the latest with Damian Harris?
Well, you're right. You alluded to me not particularly liking the term lock when it comes to recruiting, and then, as you mentioned, I don't. But I've never really felt that Damian Harris was anything close to a lock. I've always felt that Ohio State, ever since he decommitted from Michigan, had a very realistic shot at getting him. I watched as he was at the Ohio State-Michigan basketball game, and in fact, I was sitting very close to him, watched what a great time he was having and his interaction with Ohio State coach Urban Meyer, of course, when they came into the shot and all. And then as the game progressed, I watched as he certainly, there was no doubt who he was rooting for that game. It was the Buckeyes. I just continue to feel like Ohio State is going to be the winner. Now, am I certain? Absolutely not. But I do feel like in the end they're going to be the winner. I think Ohio State will likely sign one running back in this class. And my feeling right now is that one running back will be Damian Harris. Certainly, I've never ruled out Kentucky. It's his home state, and they're going to do everything they can to keep him there. But, again, when you're looking at Ohio State versus Kentucky on a football scale, it's different. It's certainly different, and Ohio State has a big edge there, in my opinion.
And after losing Larry Scott to Michigan State, they better land Damian Harris, or they're going to be in dire straits when it comes to running back recruiting. Because I think they, I don't want to say they would have went after Larry Scott harder, because I know they went after him pretty hard, made it clear they wanted him. But they really need to land Damian Harris in this class. It seems to be they've kind of put all their eggs in the Damian Harris basket as far as running backs at this point. And Bill's What I Am Hearing column is on the site right now. So if you're a subscriber, make sure you check that out. He has info on Van Jefferson, Brendan Ferns, and much more. In the boarding house today for subscribers, we'll have an item on how true freshman corner Marshawn Lattimore has been doing in Mickey Maratti's conditioning program. And we'll have the other 4 items as well in the boarding house. You will not want to miss that. If you're not a subscriber, give our 30-day free trial a test drive. You get pretty much half of preseason camp covered right there with the 30-day free trial. So give our 30-day free trial a try. And Bill, thank you very much to the Dean of Ohio State Football Recruiting, and thanks to everybody out there. I hope you have a great day. Take it away, best damn band in the land.